Hello everybody and welcome back to the Ammo Man channel. As always, my name is Kenneth Miller and I'm really glad to see you here today. As you may have seen in some of our most recent videos, I spent a good portion of this year traveling around, getting a bunch of good training in and talking with experts on all sorts of different topics. One of those training opportunities was an instructor development weekend hosted by Robert Higgins from Witt Machine Suppressors at the North 40 Gun Club in Denison, Texas. I've known Rob for a little over a year now and he's quite the character, so I figured this would be a great opportunity to get him on camera answering some general suppressor related questions. The rest of this video is going to be us going over some basic information and common questions that we both received from people looking to purchase a silencer or just in need of some general advice on the topic. Feel free to hop around the sections that are interesting or relevant to you. Some of you who are already interested in buying a suppressor may know that just last week, the House of Representatives narrowly voted 215 to 214 to pass new language for the Hearing Protection Act bill. This language aims to eliminate the taxation and registration of suppressors under the National Firearms Act. What this means is that if the bill continues on to the Senate and later on our president, there would no longer be the additional $200 tax stamp and registry of suppressors purchased. Although it may increase the wait times at the onset of this bill, this would ultimately make it far easier to access and acquire the tools needed to shoot safer and quieter for those that we share ranges with. Legislation is almost always a very long road, and my team made sure that I remind you I'm not a lawyer. Regardless, it brings up good questions in people's minds, and it's the perfect excuse to put out education on what suppressors really do and how much value they bring to safety when shooting. I hope you enjoy our little chat, and if you have any questions on suppressors or anything else, leave a comment below and I'll be sure to get back to you as quickly as I can. That's all I've got. Without further ado, a conversation with Robert Higgins. Hey everybody, my name is Kenneth Miller. Welcome back to Ammo Man. Today I'm joined with Robert Higgins of Witt Machine Suppressors. Robert, thanks for having me out. For those of you who don't know, we're out at the North 40 Gun Club in Denison, Texas. Before we get into some questions on suppressors, can you tell my audience a little bit about why you do events like this?
I hate people, and if I can get 4 or 5 of my friends together, it makes my feel better. Oh no, serious answer. Sorry. One of the things that I see in the space
Industry.
in the industry is a lot of know-it-nothings running their mouth like they know everything. So I like to get, I'll reach out to a couple different instructors, invite them down here if they can make it cool. If they can't make it, it's not the end of the world. We blow, 40, 50 bucks on range fees and 40, 50 bucks on lunches for everybody. And we just get together and collaborate. There's too many people that are, my way is the way. And it's like, if you are not the way, the truth, and the light, shut the f up. Let's just go make friends.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons I do this.
Yeah.
You primarily have 3 classes of cans. You have L, S, and K. L stands for long, S stands for short, and K stands for really f***ing short. A long can is generally anything that is 7.5 inches or longer. An S can is anything 8 inches to 7 or 8 inches to 6 inches. And a K can is anything under that. We do K cans, which it's a mentality that we like specifically because it's kind of an underrated class and it's not oversaturated. S cans, it's a super saturated market.
Mm-hmm.
L cans, they're long. They're the most suppression you're going to get out of a suppressor itself. But the drawback to that is the longer the can is on a gas gun, the more port pop you're going to get and the more dirty the gun, that the host weapon's going to get.
Mm-hmm.
Because the longer the can, the more time the bullet's in there. And once the gun reciprocates and it opens up, the pressure behind the bullet, with the bullet still inside the can, that pressure follows the path of least resistance and dumps into the body of the gun. Whereas on a bolt gun, that L can, because the weapon is manually actuated like a bolt gun, lever gun, shotgun, everything goes into the can and out. There's no backpedaling of the pressure wave. Whereas on a semi-auto gun, once that thing starts to open up, there is definitely a backpedaling. We call it back pressure. It's kind of not really it's a misnomer in the same fashion as like muscle memory is a misnomer as opposed to like neural pathways. But it's like Kleenex or tissue. You get the idea. Mag or clip. I understand what you're talking about. You're talking about a feeding device. Don't be a S cans tend to be that middle ground between shitting inside of the gun and getting a lot of suppression overall. Whereas K cans, you're taking a lot of the bite out of it, but you're not ninja quiet. You know, if you're jumping through windows and chasing down werewolves, get an L can.
Yeah.
Run a bolt gun.
Yeah.
Or get an S can and run 300 blackout. K cans tend to be the least suppressy of the suppressor class, but they're also, in my opinion, the gun is more reliable with a K can than it would be with an L can.
Okay.
Because I'm dumping that much less crap into the gun.
Sure.
And that's where like the free flow cans kind of come in. They vent some of that pressure out of the gun before the bullet actually exits the system now. So that pressure automatically has somewhere to go, and it's already traveling in that direction when the weapon starts to reciprocate. So
yeah,
there's pluses and minuses to pretty much every suppressor out there. Suppression really hasn't gone too far in the last 100 years or so. Outside of some of the new flow-through cans, like the tech is the tech is the tech. This can is full of the same stuff as this can, is full of the same technology as this can. For 100 years, it's stacked baffles. Everybody is just kind of stacking those baffles how they think is the most efficient, and that's about it. It's a flashlight body full of small block Chevy freeze plugs with a hole punched in the middle in some form of center. That's really what it is. This has a bunch of stacked baffles in it. This has a bunch of welded stacked baffles in it. This uses a monocore that spaces the baffles itself. This has advantages over this. This has advantages over this. This has advantages in its realm over all of them. It's one of those things that there's overkill and there's enough. If you're jumping through windows and chasing down werewolves, yes, you might need the most durable thing on a belt-fed gun. And if you're not doing belt dumps in the trash, like what does it matter that the can will survive 7,000 rounds? This is a very good can. It's a very lightweight can. It's titanium, so that adds to the price. This is a very good can. It's slightly heavier because it's made of 416 stainless. Way less expensive than titanium. One of the benefits to cans is stabilizing the weapon platform, keeping the gun level a little longer, as well as the auditory, deletion of noise. Obviously, when we're talking about subsonic rounds, guns are quieter. When we're talking about supersonic or hypersonic rounds, you can't get rid of that snap. It's present. Suppressors are kind of the best muzzle brake you can get. You've got this Scythe TI that's got a muzzle brake on the end, and that just adds to that. We punch an 11-degree crown on the end of our cans that kind of helps suppress that and keep the weapon steady. But when that bullet exits, it's no longer supersonic.
Yeah.
You're now balancing speed versus projectile weight, which has its own debilitation. But, it kind of comes into its own.
Yeah. Well, one reason why I really like suppressors, aside from it's a little bit quieter, is that most suppressors I've shot so far reduce or completely remove flash. So is that something that all cans are going to do, or can you possibly have a suppressor and it's still super flashy?
You can. Some of the titanium cans are flashy because as the powder is entering and exiting, there's a little bit of burn off there, and they're kind of sparky. But that can go away the dirtier the can gets because the titanium is being covered by carbon, which is cool. Some cans, like the shorter the barrel of the gun, the more work the suppressor has to do to eat that suppression down or eat that flash down. So, a K can on a 7.5556, you're at the mercy of physics. Like you can't, that fireball is still going to be there. Can you still cook a turkey with it? Probably not. But like you're going to blind yourself, your team, and probably the dude you're shooting at, but you're shooting at them. So blindness is the last thing they're going to worry about. Recoil reduction is the culmination of mount, weight, reciprocating system, and caliber itself. 308 is going to push a guy built like a 12-year-old around, depending on how much I can wrench into it, what I can brace against, and then how much the overall system itself weighs. When you get into precision shooting, the farther you're trying to shoot, the heavier the guns become to weigh that down. So a lightweight suppressor might not add enough weight to the system for you to notice it freestanding, whereas a heavier can might. Again, this is
Gotcha.
416 stainless steel. This thing's like 13 ounces with the muzzle brake on it. This is titanium. It's probably like 6.5 ounces before you thread it onto the gun.
So a mix of like baffle design, but then the overall weight of the can is going to be kind of what determines how much
Correct.
impulse reduction you feel as
how
a
much
shooter.
felt recoil you're going to get.
Is it actually physically reducing the recoil, or is it just a feeling to the shooter?
Little column A, little column B. The direction of cone in your baffles will have something to do with it. Some companies will have baffles pointed this way and then baffles pointed that way, and they'll kind of ladder up and out to try and stabilize that.
Okay.
And again, the idea behind those is to kind of give positive and negative pulses to the shot to kind of stabilize the gun. Biased guy, so take this as you will. I think our cans hold guns steadier than a lot of cans out there. In the K space, I think we suppress extremely well when you're comparing us to much higher cost components.
Okay.
But some people want to look, kind of rolls in there.
Yeah. What kind of durability can people expect? Are cans something that lasts a lifetime, or is it a certain round count? How does that work?
Complicated discussion, simple answer. User experience may vary. A lot of people go to the range 5 times a year. They shoot, 150 to 500 rounds in that 365-day period. That suppressor is going to last you forever. On the other hand, people that like shoot high volumes of fire, they go to classes all the time, they train. You're going to erode that first baffle inside of that can within an understood amount of time. I can say that I've had Surefire cans that lasted a very, very long time in the first baffle space, and they did really, really well. The only thing those cans don't do well is they don't, like the back pressure on a Surefire can is absolutely 100% retarded. They spit in your face like an angry hooker. It's just the way it is. The other thing is, depends on the material. Like titanium lasts pretty good depending on what kind of attachment point you have. If you have a direct thread can, that first baffle is going to last much, much longer than if you had a QD can and a break that is a flash hider, because flash hiders work to take a blast out like this and narrow it down. So inside of that can, if you have a muzzle break, which blows the break out or blows that fireball out, you're focusing it on the sides, maybe the thickest part of the can. Whereas when you have a flash hider on there, you're making a little laser dart that's just going right into there, and it starts to erode that first baffle space much, much faster. There's cans out there that have good thick walls in their first blast baffle. There are cans out there that have no exterior wall. It's just a thin piece of tubing, and eventually you're going to blow that out. On the other hand, I don't know if you know this, I've been told this before, but length matters. Short barrels have more concussion inside the suppressor than long barrels. Long barrels have more time for the pressure behind the bullet to spike inside the barrel and not bleed off, but reduce a little bit as it's pushing that barrel down, or the bullet down the barrel. Once it enters the suppressor, the only thing the suppressor really has to do is cool and slow down those gases, because that's what makes all your noise. It's the speed of the gas, it's the speed of the bullet trekking down, and it's the heat that is being generated. So if you can cool the gases and slow them down, that's where your biggest bang for the buck is going to come from. Whereas in a short barrel, if you've got a 7.5-inch 5.56, you're actually hitting the max pressure that cartridge is capable of inside the can. And if your can's not ready for it, they don't last long. And in all honesty, full auto is what eats cans faster than just about anything else.
Hot.
If you can fire a couple rounds out of it and let it cool off, and then fire a couple rounds out of it and let it cool off, that will also greatly add to the longevity of that can.
It's good to
Whereas if you're just doing mag dumps in the trash all the time, you're gonna have a bad day. Durability is gonna be what you put into it versus what you get out of it.
If getting a suppressor with a bigger bore allows you to shoot kind of that plus anything under it, that would lead me to think that bigger's better, Right? Wrong? So tell me, I'm going to open it up the can of worms so you can explain it. Don't go too off the rails.
These rails are gone, man. I am going to go off these rails like Ozzy on a crazy train. Bigger is not always better. As far as a general purpose can versus a caliber specific can, it really is a balance between what your budget is. Can you afford a second can?
Yeah.
And what your intention is and what's realistic for you. Like, I don't down on people that buy 30 cal cans and put them on their stuff, but you have to recognize that a 223 can on a 223 gun is going to sound better than a 30 cal can on a 5.56 gun. And the farther up that chain you go, the worse it sounds. I've had people run our 45 cal can on a 223 and they're like, that's not quiet at all. And I'm like, I agree.
Yeah.
That bore's been opened up like the new fish that ran his mouth at calf time in prison. Like, that dude's been spread open and it just, you don't feel nothing no more. He just cries a lot.
Yeah.
Sorry. The term is general purpose can. You're buying a 30 caliber can and you're putting it on a 5.56 gun. And the idea back in the day was tax stamps took forever and they were expensive. Cans were expensive. The process was long and drawn out. And then you had to pay $200 to ask permission to take something you already purchased home. And that's dumb. But the idea of a general purpose can was brought about because it took so long to get this done.
You need something that you can use on multiple platforms.
Right. You know, I can take this 30 cal and put it on my...
It's going to take you half a year to get it or a year to
right.
get it.
It's going to take me 14 months to get it, but now I can put it in, I can use it a little more widely. I can put it on my 308 bolt gun and I can go feed my family, or I can put it on my AR-15 and I can LARP till my heart's content, which is what we do, right?
Yeah.
That's less of a thing now because the ATF is infringing on us faster, and we like that, apparently. A 30 cal can on a 5.56, it's like 2 steps above abysmal, because the closer the bore diameter of the can is to the true caliber of the firearm, the more suppression and more efficient that suppressor will work.
To trap more of that gas.
To trap more of that air.
Keep it cool, yeah.
When Surefire got its first like law enforcement or military contract, they made 5.56 cans. And they quickly learned, after they got a couple contracts and they had like millions of rounds burned, that the back pressure they were creating with a 5.56 can was eating up guns and like just where they eat kind of thing. But it would also wear out parts and it would break stuff and it would cause malfunctions and it would cause lives. So one of the next things they did was they came up with the term of general purpose can, which was a 30 caliber can you can kind of bounce around. And way, way, way back in the day, it was kind of a rudimentary attempt to make a flow-through can by giving the bore diameter a little more leeway for the smaller bullet to truck down and vent gases out so that they would be reduced coming in. Yeah. It worked in comparison to their original tight can, but it sucked. It still sucked for the shooter.
I mean, I think you're right. I think as far as, you know, a bigger bore size or a dedicated, I think what I'm hearing is that because of the situation we're all in now as of 2025, with how fast we're getting these cans back, and if there's so many more options now, like there are just a ton of options. So if, you know, you have the budget and you're getting these cans quicker, it's just overall, once you have one, you're gonna want some more. So
get what you want.
If you want to start with 30, great, but you're gonna have better results with a caliber specific can.
The Side TI is a great can.
Yeah, I've loved it.
For its price, with its material, like they did a good job keeping the price reasonable. I like these cans. They do like I said, with the muzzle brake on top, they do a hell of a job. Our cans, again, it's your mileage is gonna go where it will, and your budget is gonna dictate what you want. Yeah. But at the same time, if you grab this can, which is a 9mm can, and you put it on a 5.56 gun, you're probably gonna avoid the warranty in a hurry.
Sure.
Just because something fits doesn't mean it's rated for it, and that's something else that folks need to address. Yeah. Titanium cans are generally not considered full auto rated because if you overheat titanium, you can actually catch it on fire.
Yeah.
Which is amazing to see.
Just the one time.
Just the one time. It's like, whoa. Oh, I don't want to be here anymore. You know, that's the durability of 416. Most barrels are made out of 416.
Okay.
So when you asked earlier about durability, I know that I've taken our cans to 20,000 rounds. What's it rated for? What are you going to do with it? Like, what's a realistic use case for you?
Okay.
It also depends on how you're defining the role of that rifle.
Yeah.
If it's a DMR gun, you're not an SBR guy. If it's a SBR, if you're a CQB guy, it's not a DMR. You know, what are you trying to accomplish with cans versus the reality with which you live in?
Yeah.
Is your duty gun. Like, we sell a boatload of these to cops, but what's it going to be? Go out there, find the brand that meets your needs and go with that. Like, some people are like devout dead air guys. Cool. Mike Pappas is an awesome guy.
Love him over there. Yeah.
You know, some people are like dead on Surefire guys because Delta Force uses it. Okay. Good on you. Some people are diligent dudes. Some people are Silencer Co guys. You know, it's like 1911 versus Glock. You know, those guys are going to fist fight at the bar if they get too much, especially on St. Patty's Day. But figure out what your budget is, because you still got to feed your family out after this. And some of y'all married guys get beat up as it is. But figure out what your budget is. Figure out what you're going to use it for. And just go play with it. Go find it. Like, go find CanCon.
Yeah.
And go to CanCon. You know, there's suppressor type events all over the country right now because suppression is becoming more and more common use, which is the goal. Like, the whole point, like, I don't drive a Lamborghini. Like, that's one of the other reasons.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
I thought you owned a suppressor company.
Yeah, exactly. You know, 88 Chevy Suburban. It's my apocalypse truck. So that's another thing that like keeps our prices down is we're not trying to, you know, put 30 kids through a Harvard education. Find something, beat the brakes off of it and try it. Like, go out, shoot this stuff. There's enough of our cans out there. Somebody at the range is going to be like, you want to shoot it? It's like the one thing where we can all get along. You go to the range and stare at a gun long enough, somebody's going to be like, you want to shoot it? But if you stare at the shooter long enough, he's going to be like, what is your problem? So look at the gun. Be polite. Be like, hey, man, that's kind of cool. Can I touch your piece? Don't say it like that. But like 9 times out of 10, they'll hand you the gun and be like, here's a mag.
Yeah. Yeah.
Try it.
What's your budget? What's your use case? And then take a leap. That's what I'm getting out of it. And I totally agree with you. I think CanCon, that's how I got my first can, was going to CanCon and doing a Pro versus Joe shoot off. So all I had to pay was the tax stamp, and that sent me down a hard rabbit hole. So
oh yeah,
thank you again for having me out to do some instructor development, just to shoot and hang out with some really cool people. I'm looking forward to beating the brakes off of some Witt Machine cans. So Robert, thank you for your time and for answering some questions.
No worries, man. Thanks for having me out.
Thanks, buddy.